Hey gang, DVD collector back in the movie room. Hey gang, and welcome back to the movie room. I know it's October, but we being myself and Ian, decided to relaunch an old video series. And we might do more and more of these, but we decided to bring back Top 10 Tuesdays. We love doing lists. Ian is the master of coming up with ideas, but this time he let me come up with an idea, and he might even let me come up with more. So this time I chose top 10 films that are based on true events, true stories, stuff like that. Well, I had my internet up because it's my internet. Ow. The fuck did I do? Anyway, I had the internet up and I was looking. Let's find some real good true event films. And I was looking through there. You know, I was Schindler Listing, and I was Apollo 13ing, and then bing! I got an idea. Hey, it's October. Let's do horror. Let's do top 10 horror films based on true events. Now, when you go into horror with true events, this is kind of true for regular films too. When you go into true events, they're based on or loosely based on the actual event because it's Hollywood and the actual event might have been boring as fuck. Okay? Now, keep that in mind while we do these horror. Because you know what? I was reading today. Let's look at some horror films that are based on true events. Did you know Chucky, Child's Play, was based on a real story? I didn't know that. It was based on this guy that supposedly possessed his doll, and the doll had a fucking name. It was like Mr. Robert or something like that. It was real stupid. And so they got the idea of Chucky from that. I don't quite believe that. But I read that multiple places. So, who knows? Nightmare on Elm Street was based off of a true event. Now, I had heard that one before, but it was based off of these people dying in their sleep. Something to do, I don't know, something to do with dreams. Let me get my list out here. Now, this list is crumpled up and shit and wrote like shit, but this list is the top 10 horror films that I find interesting that are based on true events. These are, like I said, loosely based on true events, and they are also not in any order, okay? I'll tell you the number one when we get to it, which I think is the most interesting. Do I have 10? Yeah, I have 10. Okay, the first film we're going to talk about is Ravenous. If you haven't ever seen Ravenous, it's a very, very, very good film. The film is based loosely on the Donner Party, of course. But also, I read on here that it was also based on a guy named Alfred Packer, who ate his friends. I'm sure it didn't say it like that. I wrote down. Ate his friends on a gold expedition when they became stranded and started dying. Did they start dying there, Alfred? Huh? Or did Alfred get hungry? Anyway, it's based on both. The story in Ravenous is not even really close. It's actually a story of an encampment that has a cannibal in it. And, well, that's the story. But it's fucking awesome if you haven't seen it. The Exorcism of Emily Rose. This movie is creepy as fuck, okay? I love this film. I don't care how many people despise it or think, man, that was stupid. This film is very good, and it also is a very interesting film. The true story behind this, once again, true. Emily, who had a totally different name, but I didn't write it down. We'll call her Emily. Died of being malnourished and kind of ignored because people didn't believe she was possessed. She was supposedly possessed for a very long time, and when she finally died, she was actually, the priests involved were actually sentenced. I can't remember if they were actually sentenced to jail or probation. I think I read both parts, or both ways. But the film itself, I can't remember her name, something Carpenter, that plays Emily Rose, does an outstanding job. So. Next on the list, The Strangers. The Strangers is loosely, and I use the word loosely, very loosely, on the Manson murders. It's basically kind of the same thing. It's just, except this one's just completely fucking random. People come in, people do the thing, and they just leave. So, The Strangers, for a long time I wouldn't watch this film because as I looked at it, every time I passed it in a movie store or whatever, it just looked dumb on the front. And when I found it at a pawn shop and I bought it, and I was like, all right, let's give it a chance. I was really, really impressed with this film. It really, really kind of opened my eyes to home invasion films a little bit, and I went and watched a couple other ones and started really enjoying them. Next, The Hills Have Eyes, based on Alexander Bean, and this is just what I read. I'm sure it's got other meanings. Alexander Bean, he was head of a group of cannibal cave dwellers. Okay, killed over 1,000 people. They lived in caves and went on for a long time and was killed. I can't remember. I think they said King James killed him. Yeah, because I think it said something stupid like was killed by King James, who later went on to write the Bible or something like that. I don't remember. I should have made better notes. I'm sorry, but you know what? You get the point. The Exorcist, my favorite horror film. Okay, it could very well be what I consider the best horror film ever, but it's actually based on a boy who became possessed after playing with a Ouija board. I believe he was trying to summon his dead aunt, and the Catholic Church stepped in to perform the exorcism, which I've yet to ever read the book. I'm going to one of these days, but I never ever have, so maybe that'll be on my bucket list, which I don't know how long that is. The Town That Dreaded Sundown. This is based on some murders that occurred in Texarkana that were never, they're unsolved. They were never found out why. You've seen the movie. Basically, it's the same story. It just probably wasn't as, I hate to say it, probably wasn't as good as the original. But, yeah, okay. So there we go, Town That Dreaded Sundown. Next, The Conjuring. I love this film. I love this whole franchise that they've built, James Wan has built with these films, with Annabelle and stuff like that. This is based on real people, real events This is Ed and Lorraine Warren. This is just one of the investigations that they went through when they were cleansing houses and doing research on the paranormal. This just happens to be one of the best. So, okay. Next, Psycho. You could also use 100 other different films for this spot, with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Silence of the Lambs. There's been films based on Ed Gein himself, so that kind of gives it away. We're looking at the story of Ed Gein. I think Psycho and Texas Chainsaw Massacre put them together the best. I think Psycho had the whole the mother not wanting him to be intimate, and he had a really weird relationship with his mother. And then Texas Chainsaw Massacre had the creative side of Ed Gein, where he made people clothes and furniture and all that shit out of bones and things like that. I'm pretty sure he wasn't a cannibal, and I'm pretty sure he didn't dress up like his mother. But he did have people suits, so maybe he did dress up like close to his mother. But those right there are two really good examples of Ed Gein. Oh, and I talked about Silence of the Lambs. That was just Buffalo Bill. That part was loosely based on him. But I'll pick, Psycho is my favorite. I love Psycho. Amityville Horror, this is also Ed and Lorraine. The house, let's see, what did I write down? The Lutz's family experienced severe paranormal activity. If you've never seen the original, fuck those other ones. The original. And I think I want to say 3 is really good. But this is a story of the house being possessed itself and, really attacking the family. I think it more or less makes the dad really crazy, and, you have to see that. It's stars Margot Kidder and it's Josh Brolin's dad. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. Mr. Brolin. How about that? The last one on the list, Zodiac. This is one of the most high-profile unsolved cases ever. The Zodiac killer would give clues to the police, but they never could find him. He killed, I think, 7 people, four guys and 3 girls. They're just completely random, too. They weren't, like, of the same kind or the same race or anything. They were just completely random. That's what made him really, really hard to catch. And he killed between, it was in the late 60s. And they have never found it. I did read in one article when I was looking these up that in 2007 they decided to reopen the case. So I don't know what they did past that point, though. But what I'm going to pick on the most interesting one in all of this is I'm going to go ahead and pick The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and I'd put that in number 1 if I had put these in order. Even though I love The Exorcist a whole lot, the most interesting of these true event films is Exorcism of Emily Rose. Just the whole courtroom drama part mixed with the story of possession and things like that. So it's interesting to see what Ian does. I don't think he did horror. I think he did real events, real historical events. So I haven't seen it yet either, so I'm looking really forward to that. So keep an eye out for Tuesdays. We'll do Top 10 Tuesdays. For some reason, if that doesn't work out, we are going to go to Top 5 Fridays because, it's too much. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, and I'll put out another Vincent Price video, and we'll keep moving. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and keep it spooky. Game over.